FERPA compliant means, generally speaking, because it's actually sort of big. But what it means, yeah, right. My understanding is about 2 sentences. And what I understand about it is that putting any kind of student information, confidential information, on either of these tools would not be a thing that you should do. In fact, the university strongly advises not to do that. So we're talking about things like student addresses, student phone numbers, grades of any kind of document that has any kind of evaluation on it should not go on these tools. For that kind of thing, you'd be better off using Canvas, which is also a cloud-based application, but it's FERPA compliant, so we have a greater amount of security around it. So what we've found after looking at these tools is that they're really, really great for organizing and storing documents, especially if you're on the road at all, and can be used for many kinds of class activities. For example, you could put an assignment that your students downloaded from Dropbox. That would be perfectly fine because it has no student data in it. So it could be used to distribute things to your students, just not to collect papers and things back from. Canvas would be a much better a better tool to use for that. So with that, I'd like to introduce our 3 students. We have Jasmine Hepburn, Cottle, and Alyssa Schwartz, and they're going to go ahead and give us our presentation.
My name's Alyssa.
Did I say Alyssa? Oh no.
So we're going to start with Evernote. It's pretty awesome. It's my favorite note. So first we'll start out with what is Evernote. Evernote is a suite of software designed specifically for note-taking. So you can archive your notes and take notes, and they're very easy to access in Evernote. It's very helpful because you can sync all your information to multiple devices, so you can have your notes anywhere and on any device. So you can have it on an iPad, an iPhone, a computer, wherever you are. You can also supplement your notes with pictures and URLs. It makes it very easy if you're researching something, or it's just easier to have a picture of something in there instead. But one of the coolest things about Evernote is that you can organize them into notebooks, and you can share those notebooks very easily. So other than taking notes, you can also share those notes. This is what Evernote looks like. This specifically is the web version. The other ones look a little different, but mostly the same. So as Peter said, Evernote is on a cloud system. That's how it stores all of your notes, which is what makes it so easy to access them anywhere. If you have an internet connection, then you can access them. On one free account on Evernote, you can have 250 notebooks, 10,000 tags, and 100,000 notes. It's a lot. So that's usually if the max size is about 25 megabytes, which if you're looking at texts and some pictures, it's a decent size. We'll get to Dropbox where you might want to do with bigger files later. But you can get a paid version if you find you're using Evernote a lot, which is about $5 a month. And that increases your note size and your monthly upload, so you can upload more to Evernote in 1 month. You can access Evernote in mostly 3 different ways: desktop, web, and mobile app. So you can have an actual Evernote-like program on your desktop, which allows you to edit your notes there, and you can work offline. If you are offline, then when you come online later, then your notes will be saved and updated to the cloud server, and you can then see them later. The mobile apps are really helpful too, because you can just jot down notes whenever you're roaming about. So there's a lot of different things you can make into notes, and there's a small list of them. But I'm going to show you how to make it. So this is the Evernote website. So you can easily just sign in. Here we go. Now we can see the web version, as I showed you earlier. It's really easy. Just be new note. So you're able to title your notes, and you can set an URL. It's really easy. You can copy one, or just type it in. Evernote's awesome. Also, you can add tags, really, really easy, and you can add a location. If you're doing this from a web or a mobile app, and your phone knows where you are, it will automatically tell you where your location is. You can also add tags, which is very simple. I've got some tags here, but if there's one that you haven't made yet, you just type it in, like Lester, and then enter, and it creates the tag for you. It's really easy just to create notes. You can add files, see right there, and other normal just text editing things. So there's that. Done, and then it appears right there. So, find it. That one. Some general tips while you're making the notes is to remember to name them something specific. Because although Evernote keeps track of the date, you can't really search by date. If you name them with the date or a course, it's really easy to search through them. You use tags with the course, you can search by tags. And when you tag things, you can tag them whatever you feel like it. So whatever makes the most sense to organize things for you, you can tag them. Anything. These are some suggestions if you're using Evernote specifically in the classroom or for some schoolwork. So now we'll talk about some apps and plugins for Evernote. These two are very similar. One's just on the web and one is a mobile app. These enable you to be using like a web browser and say, that's cool, I want that in Evernote. And you can just click it and it will automatically make a note with that URL in it. So you can do it either while on your smartphone or in a browser. Skitch is a mobile app and a desktop app that allows you to capture your screen and to edit your photos and pretty much just highlight anything you'd like to in them. And it's really useful. So we're going to show this little video that demonstrates some uses. At the end there, you could see how it even ties into Evernote, which is one of the really helpful things. Since Skitch is directly related to Evernote, they own it, you can connect them really, really easily.
Hi, I'm Alyssa, and I'm going to be talking about Penultimate. This app is a direct Evernote plugin. It's owned by Evernote. This free app allows you to do pretty much anything you do on paper in terms of note-taking. You can share single pages or full notebooks via Evernote, or if you click on the email button, then it emails you the note or notebook in a PDF file. You can also open pages or notebooks in Skitch, Google Docs, and other social or productivity networks. Another cool thing about this app is that you can search for handwritten text in both Penultimate and Evernote if you sync your Penultimate to Evernote and you open your Penultimate file in Evernote. In terms of the interface, there are different background styles available, like graph paper and line paper and plain paper. There are other styles available, but you have to pay for them. There's also different colors and for the writing tools, and a stylus is recommended. Sundry Notes Pro is, it's not a direct Evernote plugin. It's just an alternative to Penultimate. The main difference between the two is that there is a real-time collaboration feature via Wi-Fi. So you can connect with other Sundry users on the same Wi-Fi network and edit the same note. You can also type text with different fonts and colors. And you can also search the internet from within Sundry and import pictures and PDFs into your notes. There's also a Photoshop style undo history feature, which makes photo editing a lot easier. There's also a free version of this app called Memos, which is a lot like Penultimate, except for you can type text in Memos and you can't in Penultimate. But I personally like Penultimate more than Memos just because I like the interface more. Oh, that is a picture of the web or the desktop app, and this is a picture of the iPhone app.
So now we're going to talk about how others have used Evernote, specifically in a classroom setting. It's just a list of some of them. It's really helpful to be able to have your notes all in one place. But one of the more interesting things they used Evernote for was taking pictures of like their whiteboard for their lecture, or using the notebooks to share with students so they could have notes from that class, or other things.
So an example of a teacher using Evernote in his classroom is Jordan Collier, who says, "Evernote has given me the perfect way to extend my classroom instruction and meet the individual needs of my students." He talks about, in his blog, he talks about integrating these 5 areas of the puzzle in his classroom to be an effective and influential teacher. But the missing piece that he wasn't able to accomplish until he became more familiar with Evernote was the at-home support. And I think we can all agree that it's pretty difficult for teachers to meet the individual needs of each individual student. But through Evernote, Jordan is able to make up for the lack of time for direct instruction in his classroom. And he does this by providing instructional notes and tutorials and additional resources so that those who need extra time to study the material and remember the lesson from school makes it easier to learn at home. And this video demonstrates how he uses Evernote in his classroom.
Common frustration among teachers is a lack of time for direct instruction. Many issues and concerns take away from instructional time: testing, classroom management, behavioral issues, and meeting the individual needs of each student. All of these issues are very important in having a successful classroom, but typically they take away from direct instruction. As a result, the students who need extra time and extra help miss out and feel lost. They go home, begin working on homework, and try to remember the lesson, but they may struggle. To help my students when they are working from home, I began using Evernote to extend instruction by providing instructional notes, tutorials, resources, study guides, and helpful links. Evernote is a cloud-based storage site that allows users to upload computer files, handwritten documents, pictures, and audio files, as well as having new notes inside the app from any tablet, phone, or computer. Once the notes have been uploaded, they are immediately accessible across every internet device, and I can organize them into separate notebooks. For each of my classes, I created a shared notebook, which allows students to access any of the content I've uploaded from anywhere they may be. Students can access the class notebook using their tablets, phones, and laptops while at home, school, or even the mall. Okay, they probably won't access the notebook from the mall, but they could. Another way I've used Evernote to extend my classroom is by creating an individual portfolio for each student, which I share with the student and his or her parents. I scan and upload major assignments such as tests, essays, projects, speeches, using video and audio, and even upload pictures of projects. The digital portfolio allows me to document student growth and share it with students and their parents. Having a shared class notebook and maintaining individual student portfolios has been instrumental in my student success this year. Evernote has given me the perfect way to extend my classroom instruction and meet the individual needs of my students. Using their own devices, students are able to access both the class notebook and their individual notebooks in class and at home, and are able to take responsibility for their own learning and growth. Because Evernote has been so beneficial in my classroom, many of my students have begun using Evernote in all of their classes. If you're looking for a way to extend and personalize your classroom instruction, Evernote may be the perfect solution. Oh, did I mention it's free?
I know where it went.
Where'd it go?
Oh, it's right there. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, so hi, I'm Jasmine. And I'm just going to talk a little about some of the apps that Jason used in his classroom. And if you notice, actually, Show Me, which is the first one I'm going to talk about, was actually how he made the video we just watched. It's basically a online whiteboard that you can annotate. You can record videos. You can explain your ideas and give demonstrations, stuff like that.
It's a lot like, those pens that you write and it makes PDF. It's like that, but you don't have to have a special pen or the special paper.
Yeah. And it's fairly cheap. In fact, I think it's free, or if it's not, it's $1 to $2, so it's a good purchase. Notability is another app. It allows you to type, write with like a scribe, record your notes. So, if you're just kind of reading something and you want to make some notes to yourself, you can just open it up and it'll record your voice and just take notes that way. And then Goodreader is a really good app for like iPads, for example. It allows you to open any document, even if you don't have the software needed. So if you don't have Word, you could still open the Word doc, for example. So those are just some good backup apps to have in our arsenal. And LiveScribe is just a pen that what Janelle was talking about. You just write on this special paper and it saves your your handwrite or your note taking as a PDF, and it can also do voice recording. And he also uses Penultimate. So this is a view of the LiveScribe pen that has recorded, and this person put the LiveScribe PDF onto their Evernote, and they've saved it as a note in there. So you can see how it's pretty easy to add things to Evernote.
Another professor that has used Evernote in his classroom was Michael Cruz, and he thought that it was wonderful for almost anything he did having to do with his class. And he broke it down to about 3 different segments: prior to class, during class, and after class. And prior to class, he was able to organize all of his notes and use tags to access them very easily. So instead of having to keep track of all of the things he's going to talk about that day, he was able to tag them like by week and just say, oh, it's week 5, and then he can search that and all the notes he needs pops up. He also kept templates and like assessment forms on there, so he didn't have to worry about bringing them. He was just able to have them right where he needed them. During class, he took whiteboard photos so that he was able to keep track of what he did in the class that day, and it was really easy to share them with students that were missing it. And that goes into sharing public notebooks. But to demonstrate how easy it is to take those pictures and put them on Evernote, I took some while we were watching that video. So I used my phone to take the pictures, and really easily you just are in Evernote, take the picture, and it makes the note for you. So I was able to add it to the one we made earlier, and I was able to make one. It's really neat to also see it knew where I was when I took it. And even, if it goes even further depth, it knew we were at Western. So it's really helpful and very easy to do.
You're going to get a release to use that picture.
Didn't you look on the sign-up form?
So after class, Michael Cruz was able to use his Evernote account to organize the rest of the stuff in his life, like research or notes or any other activities he was up to. But it also was really easy to share anything he needed, like assignments with his students or with a TA if you had rubrics you needed them to look at. Another way you can use Evernote is with portfolios. We kind of mentioned those, and they're very, very neat, because as you can see, you can add a lot of things to your Evernote notes and create notebooks in Evernote very well. Students could use them to make a portfolio of all the work they've done and share it with future employers. You can make portfolios in order to have all of the assignments or material a student might need and share it with them that way. It's very easy to do that. And the best part is that Evernote can just make a notebook a URL. So they barely even need to have an Evernote account. They might have to have one to sign up depending on what's in your note, but if it's just text, they can just view all your notes very easily if you send them to that URL. So sharing with Evernote is awesome. It just covers more things that you can do. So just to recap, you can be very, very organized with Evernote. And your notebooks can be from course to week, subject to whatever you feel like. You saw I had one for owls. I like owls. And then you can tag them whatever you feel like as well, as long as you just feel like you'll use it and it will be helpful and help you be organized. You can have things down here. We have one for kittens, or rainbows. But also, as I use Evernote, sometimes I have them tagged as my friends' names if they have to do with them. Like I have gift ideas in Evernote, and then I can tag them with their name. I also have thought it was very neat that they recently updated the app for your mobile phone, and you can now have alarms in Evernote. So you can have, I need to do this today, and it will set an alarm for you on your phone. So Evernote is really helpful for keeping your whole life organized. Do you have any questions about Evernote before we continue on to Dropbox?
Okay. One is, sorry, I've got it back. But one is, you can open it up to your class, but is there a way to secure it only to your class, or once you open it, it's public to the world?
You can create it as a URL, and then it would be only open to those who had the URL.
Okay.
Technically, yes, it would be open up to most of the world, but it's a very specific URL. It would be just really easy to type something.
So like, for example, with Google Docs, you can invite
Yes.
different emails to participate. Now, it's still not confidential, so like you said, it's technically anyone can hack it, because not even hack, just open it.
Yes,
if they have the URL,
if
or
they
if
knew
they
where
have
to
the-
go. But
Right. So it's
since
not
so
good for
specific-
confidential documents, it's only useful for things you don't mind getting out to the public.
Definitely.
Okay.
Like sharing syllabuses or something like that.
The other thing was related to like, and I haven't used it, so pardon if this is maybe a question, but like say I do a lot of research in journal articles that I write, and so if I'm researching, can I save PDFs to it and do notes
You
as to
can.
tags different articles for different issues?
You can. It's a little more complicated with the free version, but the premium version actually allows you to search PDFs that you
Okay.
have in your
And so you save the PDFs, but you don't have to use your memory on your device, you're using
Yes.
the cloud memory.
Yes.
And same with a video, it wouldn't be limited to the memory on your device, it's cloud memory,
Yes.
right? Good.
It would be limited to the note size, so depending on what the video is, then we might get into
Right.
how you might want to use Dropbox for that.
Right, okay, thanks.
Any more? Yes?
You mentioned that you could do the handwritten text and
Yes.
add in the notes, and you mentioned the voice. Is it converting that like OCR? Is it then an
It usually
editable
just
file?
records a voice, so it would be a sound file on there, or some sort of sound you wanted to record. And then the handwritten note is like a drawing. Like, it would be something like if you used an iPad, you would draw with it, and it would be in your own handwriting.
So again, you couldn't search anything inside.
No, though if you tagged it with what was in it, then you could search it that way.
So Janelle, I have been successful in a limited number of cases where I've taken a picture of notes that I've made up on a whiteboard, and that text was searchable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
actually have not read anything about that, but it might be new.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, this was something that I actually used a long time ago, and I haven't used it since. So yeah, it would be interesting to research whether or not those text handwritten things would then be searchable if you did that too. But I do know that the photograph was searchable. I thought it really was interesting.
How many tags can you put on a note?
As many as you feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you could tag, for example, you could tag something fish and salmon, and tag something else trout and fish,
Oh, yeah.
and then you come back later and say, I want to search for everything on fish.
It
And
will
you do
get
both.
both trout and salmon.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything else? Yes?
Well, I guess the big question I have about Evernote and the cloud is then, can you back it up? Or,
I think I'll go to Dropbox.
like, if you wanted to back it up on your, if you have all these notes, and then can you just have them also on your own computer? Is there a way to?
Yes, that's sort of with the desktop option of Evernote. You can actually have them stored there, and then the factor with the cloud is that it updates it when you're on the internet.
And we'll also get into how Dropbox and Evernote can be
Okay,
saved.
yeah.
Yeah, so there is like,
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. I think we're going to move on to Dropbox then.
okay. Hi again. I'm going to be using Dropbox. So what is Dropbox? Dropbox is a free cloud-based file synchronization service that spans all platforms. And by on the cloud, we mean that the data is hosted on the Amazon cloud server. So think of a hard drive in the sky. Okay, and here we have a short introduction video.
You've been there. You're about to buy lunch and realize your wallet is in your other pants. Or maybe you left your keys at home. The problem is organization. You need one place for everything, like a magic pocket. Putting something in the magic pocket means it's always there, no matter what you wear or where you are. The same thing is true for computers. If you have more than one, keeping track of all of your files can be a pain. Solving this problem is one of the big ideas behind Dropbox. It's like a magic pocket, a single, secure place for all of your stuff. Let's meet Josh, who is preparing for a big trip to Africa. Right now, all of his trip info is spread across his laptop, desktop, and phone. He needs to consolidate it all and is tired of having to email files to himself or move them around with a USB drive. Then he found Dropbox, which creates a new kind of folder on his computers. These folders work hard to be exactly alike, even across Macs and PCs. By adding his itinerary to his laptop Dropbox, he can be sure the same file will show up in his desktop Dropbox and even on his phone. The same thing happens when he saves a document in a Dropbox folder. The document gets updated across all of his Dropboxes. But it's not just his computers. The Dropbox website also works to be exactly like his other Dropboxes. Anything he puts in Dropbox is available on the website automatically. This way, if his Jeep takes a dive and his computer is ruined, he can still get to his files on the Dropbox website, where they're always backed up. As it turns out, Josh's Safari was a success, and his laptop made it home with lots of videos and photos to share. Instead of emailing everything, he just shared a Dropbox folder with his mom, so she could get copies of photos she wanted to frame. Because it worked so well for travel, Josh made Dropbox the home for all of his stuff, so it's accessible anytime, wherever he goes. Whether you're traveling the world, running a business, or simply organizing your life, Dropbox means you can stop worrying about managing files and backups and get on with your next adventure. You can download Dropbox now at getdropbox.com.
Okay, so yeah, that was just a little introduction. The how to get Dropbox, the website is actually outdated. Now it's just dropbox.com, which is really simpler. Getting an account is really easy. You just go on there, it's a couple questions, what's your name, what's your email, etc. And then you'll have a free Dropbox account. The free account gives you 2 gigabytes of storage, and then you can upload anything. You can, videos. It's especially good for big files like PowerPoints and videos and things like that. And it's syncing is very quick. So, but anyway, so you can put anything up there, and then you can have the most current version available because it's constantly syncing. So if you have a document that you're working on and it's in your Dropbox folder and you save it, that document is going to be backed up and it'll be synced. And then if you come here and you get on your school computer, the newest version will be on your computer and it'll be available. And then a great bonus is 2 gigabytes might not seem like that much, but for each friend that you refer and who creates a Dropbox account through a specific link, it's very simple, but anyway, you and they get an extra 500 megabytes of bonus space, up to 16 extra gigabytes, or 18 gigabytes total, which a lot of teachers even say that 2 gigabytes was good for them. They didn't have to have any more, but just knowing that you can have a lot more extra free space. And there's also like premium accounts, which you can get like 100 gigabytes of free storage, or paid storage for like $9 a month, I think. So how to use Dropbox. So I'm just going to give you guys a brief tutorial on okay, so this is Dropbox. It's pretty simple. Just sign in.
Or create an account.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Okay, so this is my Dropbox. You can see I have all different kinds of folders. Some of them are shared folders. You'll see there's 2 little people in the folder. Some are photos. This one's public, just because I made one to see what it would be like. And actually, here's the Salamanca folder. I'm studying abroad this summer, and so I chose to upload, photocopy my passport, my itinerary, where I'm going to be, my program's manual, stuff like that. And you can see it's just like all in there. It's great. So I'm going to show you guys how to share a folder. This would be good if you want to share like handouts, you know, to your students or something like that.
PowerPoints that have huge files that are always cumbersome in an LMS.
Exactly. Or a video, yeah, something like that. So you can either share an existing folder, or for the sake, I'm just going to create a new folder. So I'll say like presentation files. Then you go to next. I'm going to say, do you want to share it with? I'm just going to share it with myself. But just imagine if you could put your student's email in here, and then in the description you could say like, here are all your handouts for this folder. And then you can share the folder. And it's really simple. And then it'll pop up. It's at the top. There it is. Okay. Yeah. And then I could drag and drop something. So say I want to put the syllabus in that. I could just put it in here. Then it's going to move. Come here, and there it is. And so say you're on your work computer and you want to download something. You just right click, and then you can download, or you can share. There's lots of options. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, nope. That's one. Nope. That one is on. Okay, sorry. We got it. Okay. But yeah, so that's just a little tutorial. So some advantages for teachers. I would say that the biggest thing that Dropbox can offer you is a safe place to put your stuff. It is so much safer than an external hard drive, a floppy disk, you know, a thumb drive, whatever it is. It cannot blow up, burn up, can't drown. Everything is backed up really securely. I mean, like, very securely. Like, I know that there's worry that you're going to lose it, but, I mean, there's even, like, a double deleting thing. Like, you can delete something accidentally, you go to, like, delete it, and it's still there, and you can just undelete it, which is great. And it's available anywhere. So, personally, for me, it's been invaluable, just because I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot. You know, I deleted something off my computer, and then I go on my Dropbox, and it's still there. Also, you can collaborate between, you know, teachers or students and teachers or students and students by sharing documents. And then there's also some security things, like you can make things public or private, but I'm not going to get into that. This is just kind of an intro. But yeah, and so then you guys can, you know, view each other's documents and edit between, stuff like that. And also you can view previous versions and see when things were edited. Okay. So Jennifer Carey is an example of a teacher who uses Dropbox, and she says, in addition to making your life a lot easier, Dropbox can be a great teaching/learning tool, and this is why I introduced it to my students. So she uses Dropbox so that she can access her lecture lesson plan that she's written at home on her desktop, and then access it at school or anywhere with internet access. She also creates a sharing folder for each class and shares that with her students via email. Dropbox makes information available to students that would otherwise be passed out as papers or just not at all because they're just too giant. And so pretty much Dropbox is a fast and secure way to make files that are too large, like
PowerPoints with images and videos available to multiple people at the same time. So an example is my TA in my biomechanics class. We take videos during lab, and he sends those videos to us via Canvas email. And that email is a link of the website specific to, or the folder specific to the one that he shared. So it's not, we can't access like any of his other folders. It's just that shared one. So here's an example. This is my Canvas. Let's see. Okay. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So here is here's a message, and here's the link to Dropbox. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. Okay, here it is. Okay, so here's the link, and it only shows the folder that he shared with the rest of us.
Hello again. I'm just going to touch on how Dropbox and Evernote kind of go together, but then are also different. You can do like syncing the same in Evernote and Dropbox. They both are on a cloud. But the reason you might want to use Dropbox for certain things and not in Evernote is because Evernote has a limit for its notes, whereas Dropbox you can just have any sort of file. So although you can attach files to Evernote, you might want to think about which ones you want that would be accessible in Dropbox and which ones you would want accessible in Evernote because of the size limit. So it's useful to keep that in mind. Also, Dropbox is usually for a file where Evernote can be for information like a note instead of just a file.
Okay, so why should you use Dropbox? Here we have Jason, who says, because teachers work on so many different devices in different locations and on different platforms, a site that allows consistent access is a godsend. And that's really the bottom line, which is just that you can access it anywhere, you'll have the most current one. And then, again, you can use it for so many different things. You can use it as like online storage, like a virtual thumb drive, essentially. You can share files, you can collaborate, you can manage projects, which I'm not exactly sure how that works in Deferred Drive. Yeah, but you could work on your own projects and stuff like that. Also, it has over 100 million users. I mean, so a lot of people use it. It's used all over the world. Yeah, it's a great thing to have. So there are competitors. There are, but the bottom line is Dropbox is still like the most sophisticated, secure, safe. It's very, very integrated with apps and stuff like that. We didn't touch on that here, but a lot of apps will, if you want to save something, it'll let you sync to Dropbox or like append to Dropbox. And yeah, it's available on all devices. You can just download it and access it. It's great. Yeah, so any questions? Yes?
Okay, I have a few. So, say for example, I mean in my classes I use a lot of in-class writing, and I haven't used Canvas yet because I didn't teach this course. But I have the students right now email me their in-class writing, but it probably makes sense to create a shared folder per assignment and have them send it, instead of emailing it to me, send it to the folder.
To the Dropbox, yeah. If you shared a folder with them, then they could upload it to that, and then you wouldn't have to worry about your email getting clogged or losing them, because you could just go on anywhere and they would all be, and you could have them separate. Like if you shared individual student folders, yeah.
Okay. And then I guess in terms of then grading or giving them comments, 'cause some things are graded, some are ungraded, but I always write comments. So then would it make sense to do my whatever grading comments in the Dropbox folder, and then they could go in and see them? Or because right now I email them back to them, which seems silly also.
Yeah.
So could they then interact with the Dropbox folder instead of me individually emailing?
That probably touches on the FERPA
FERPA,
issue, because you have graded items that go back out onto this, and this is not FERPA compliant. So in fact, what you said in the beginning is sort of a clue about Canvas. Canvas really is set up to accept papers from students, and it has a wonderful markup system built into it. So you don't have to deal with files in your email or anywhere else. Canvas can collect them all in a secure
I guess
environment.
I did this system because Blackboard was terrible at that, so I
Yeah.
had to bypass.
Well, we chose Canvas because it's not terrible.
I would think for that specific use, it would be very useful to look into Canvas because you want to give feedback. That's a really big key. It's really easy to give feedback in Canvas.
Yeah. But if you just want to turn it in Dropbox could do it, but you could still use Canvas for that too. Yeah.
And I have another question, like say I put my syllabus, whatever, on Dropbox. Yeah. And then what if, like one question is, when I update it, does a notification go out to all the participants that I share it with?
No.
I have to also email them to say I've updated the syllabus?
Well, they would just, whatever they would look at would just be the most.
But they wouldn't know, they'll go back
But
and
they
look.
wouldn't know.
If I change a guest speaker or whatever.
Yeah. So that would.
Okay. Can you set up a notification to say I've updated?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, in Canvas, I know, getting back to Canvas, I know that when you update an assignment, you can check a box that says notify all the students that the assignment has changed. But I don't know about other documents. I don't think that notification.
In a file change, it doesn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
To do that, you could set up an announcement in Canvas. That would let them know
okay.
you want
Yeah.
them to get notifications for announcements.
Okay. Because I know sometimes when I log in, it'll tell me my Dropbox has been updated or Evernote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess if people don't mind, I have another question. Like, so then if you're sharing files, and say, but is there exposure where like a student could change your syllabus? Is it two-way or one-way communication?
I think it's two-way. Unless there's some permissions feature you know about, but my experience.
So if I share a
document, read only.
Yeah.
Can you make the files read only?
Yeah.
Can you make the folder read only?
I'm actually not certain about that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to put something that I want to keep a certain way. I don't want my syllabus to be written or whatever, except by me.
With the number of things you're asking for, you probably should take a look at Canvas. We have workshops continually for Canvas offered through training.wwu.edu. And I would say that if you spend a couple of hours, you probably, 2 different trainings, you probably could really benefit from it. It has great tools for all of the things you're talking about.
So it'd be more to share like additional reading material? Is that what you'd use more, Evernote or Dropbox?
Yeah, I would say that people who are not using Canvas, for example, might use it for that. What do you think, John?
Well, I use Evernote and Dropbox, but I don't use them to interact with students at all. I just use it for my own personal organization. And certainly research, I think that a lot of doing your own research would be very valuable for these tools. I love the examples that you all provided for the educational uses, but I suspect that the people that you're highlighting don't have access to an LMS system, and so they're trying to find free tools to be able to support that. Most of them.
I think one of the interesting things that one of them said is that they introduce these tools to their students to help them organize their work.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tremendously powerful, because as a student, these students here didn't actually use them before, and now they probably can't live without them. So it's hugely useful for organizing.
That is true. I mean, Canvas still is a productivity tool for instructors, and is not so much for students. And so if you could get students involved in storing their research information, their portfolio information in these tools, I think that's a tremendous benefit.
I was going to comment, I work in facilities management, and I've been doing a collaborative project with associated students, the Green Energy Fee, and the Computer Science Department. And we've been using Dropbox as our share position, and it's been awesome because it gets, you know, all the other headaches I'd go through trying to have a shared drive on the system, and, you know, how many months it would take to get the permissions actually in place. It just, you cut through all that, and just everybody just shares and drops it. And one of the students started it, and I picked it up, and it's been really easy, and you can get stuff at home. It's a snap.
If I could ask a question for you on that, which is, you know, you talked about managing the permissions yourself, and that's been a snap. That's been easy. And so, have you had many like changes to that? I don't know. You know, over time, do you see that process becoming even more complicated, or you think no, there's something that's pretty easy to manage? I'm happy with the managing thing.
The permissions part of, like, I can imagine trying to go through the campus system that I'm used to in facilities, with there are multiple drives and that you have permission to see only certain drives. It would be very challenging to get students, faculty, and staff all able to see the same drive.
Right, you've got a real mix of individuals from different organizations.
So we're very, this Dropbox we've been using is very open access, so I'm not really managing permissions within the Dropbox. Other than, like you're talking about read-only files, we haven't been doing that. A lot of this has turned out to be kind of one way from me. I'll run a report that only I can run and post it so that they can get it. But we're now thinking of using it as a place to demonstrate a concept of how the computer science would create one database, and then the associated students could go hit that database and then convert it into a graph that they can put on reports. So it's leapfrogging that, and it's a workaround to not have to go through the red tape of being official. And it's working pretty well.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for coming.
Thanks for the video.